Conversations with Kelly, and in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month being October, I have Philippa Singleton Jackson, a survivor. Yeah, a survivor of breast cancer. And Philippa is going to share with us her story and her journey of when you got diagnosed, and then the journey leading up to the victory.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So share with us, Philippa, what they, when did you find out that you had breast cancer? What was that day like?
Okay. I started out, I had gone to the doctor prior to the day before I was told. And I went in for something totally different. I went in because I knew I had a cyst on my right side under my arm. And it started,
So that's kind of like maybe under the underarm? Okay.
Yes. And it started agitating me, and it's like, wow. So I went in to have it checked, and at the time it was time for me to have my mammogram. So I had the mammogram and went out in the parking lot, and this is just how God dealt with me. I felt this surge of I don't know, energy that came up, and I just cried.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I hadn't been told at that point that I had breast cancer. Well, the next morning we got a call, and we were told, we need you back in the office by 10 o'clock. And that's never good. But my husband and I both were here that day. We went back, and then they talked to us and told us, you know, we see some discrepancies in your mammogram, and we really need to do further, you know, looking into it.
So when you went in for, you went in for another, to have something else checked, and then in the process you had a mammogram.
Yes.
And so am I to understand that a test result for a mammogram can come back as early as 24 hours?
Yes, because it's like an x-ray, basically. And they do x-rays. You can see them, yes, within 24 hours. And if they see any dense tissue or anything like that, and especially a woman of my age, then they're going to recheck it. They're going to make sure. So
they thought that, well, they assumed that they saw something.
Absolutely.
Was that with what was under your arm, or is that something totally different? It had nothing to do with that. Okay.
Nothing.
So we're going back into the office that morning, and I'm sure a lot of thoughts maybe was going through your mind, or maybe your husband's mind.
Yes.
Was that a long ride to the doctors?
Even before even just getting dressed, it's like, what are they saying? What is this going to be? Because, you know, we know that when you're called back to the doctor, it's never good to the point that you want to cheer. And so, yeah, a lot of thoughts of what's happening, you know, what? I could not even imagine. Breast cancer was not on my radar. At all. Wasn't even thinking of it in any way.
And you had a sister that
did not survive.
Did not survive. So going to the doctor, was that before you had got diagnosed? Was her? Did she?
She passed before.
Okay.
Yeah. So hers was probably 10. She had passed about 10 years ago.
Did that thought trigger your mind on your way back? Was you kind of like?
Yeah, because she came to me that day that I went to the doctor, right? And it was, I don't know, I just felt her spirit. But I didn't make a connection. But at that point, all I wanted to do was just share my life. And we just stood, my husband and I, he was waiting for me, and I couldn't move, just cried. But it was like, not a painful cry, but it was an awareness or an awakening cry. But I didn't know why. Like, I didn't have on my schedule that it was breast cancer. But I just felt like that was my spiritual connection. And even my sister watching over me, because she had gone through it, and hers was really, really agonizing. So it just was just one of those things that I felt like I was prepared, in a sense, the day before, that something is happening, but I didn't know what. So
so we're in the doctor's office, and the news comes. The doctor breaks the news. What then?
Well, immediately I went into like numbness. I didn't know, again, how to feel about this thing. And again, my faith played a big role in it, to be able to really be with it at that moment, not make a judgment per se. Yes, there was fear, there was uncertainty, and I wanted to control it, and at that point I couldn't.
Okay.
So you surrender to it, I would say unwillingly, because I wanted to know what was going on.
Are you a person, is it safe to say that you were a person that always had to be in control?
Absolutely.
So this kind of threw a monkey wrench in that.
It totally did.
Okay.
I could not fix it, nor my husband could fix
Okay.
it. And so, yeah, that was very difficult for me to really go through that.
Okay, take us through the process of, okay, now the news has came. You're actually trying to digest the news.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're in, like if I'm sitting here with you, we can kind of chat about it. Tell me what it's like for a person that has been dealt that hand when you're alone, when you're by yourself. Nobody's looking and it's just you.
Okay. You know, truth be told, I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I lost a sister.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you're a believer, correct?
I am.
And so oftentimes I think people confuse the thing with being a Christian as we don't never have any type of feelings.
Absolutely.
So as a Christian, you were afraid.
I was very afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, be honest, I was kind of upset with God. Like, what is this? Why me? I had 7 sisters. I'm the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Why me?
Right.
And sure, I asked that question over and over again. And then once we dealt with it from the human, fleshy, emotional thing, then I was able to be calm in my silence, to be able to really just say, it's okay.
Okay.
God, why did you choose me?
So you went from why me to what is your purpose?
Right.
For this? Why did you not why me like, oh, pity me?
Right.
Now it's why did you choose me?
Yes.
What is it that you would like for me to
do with this? Absolutely.
I like that, Philippa.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have children.
I have grown sons.
Grown sons.
And stepchildren too. So
when you broke the news to them, what was that like?
Well, I think it was more of a they were shocked. Like they didn't have the conversation to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of stayed away. And my sons are in Atlanta, so they were trying to figure out how do I, you know, I can't get to mom.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do?
Okay.
So, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of didn't really know what to do.
Or how to deal with it at all.
Did you at times feel like you had to be strong when you really didn't feel like you were, just for the sake of how others, families, and kids and husbands, how they felt?
What I did is I made sure I shared, and I let everybody know. Yes, I was scared, but I need you all to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what came to me, is that God has this in my body for me to do or something. Mm-hmm. And so what am I to do? So not to have to be strong, but to do the will of God with this. This is not a curse, you know. Mm-hmm. This is, you know, I don't think I did something bad or I was a bad person and boom, this came down on me. No, I don't look at it like that. It was an opportunity. And it's thankful that he did choose me. Okay. Because I know what my faith is. Mm-hmm. And I know that I am strong when it comes to really my connection with God. Like, I don't question that.
Do you believe that your relationship with God strengthened through this process of going through cancer?
Did it?
Did it go to a whole nother
level? Okay. A whole nother level that, you know, I could be honest with God, I'm mad at you, and then to go, you know, not be stuck there and be able to say, wow, what would you have me do with this? This happened for a reason on my journey. What would you have me do with this? And my prayer was, Lord, give me the words that you want me to say about this, because the C word, like, I don't know how to talk about that. And, you know, my thinking was, please empower me with the words to speak to your people about
So when did you finally know that you made that turning point from being angry to wanting to be that used vessel?
I think more so after my husband and I went through um, our differences because we didn't understand what was happening with me.
Okay.
You know, and we're newlyweds, so to speak. So, you know, just that thought of, oh, she's going to be gone or possibly, and wow, you know. And so we got through that and realized that I have family.
Okay.
And I packed up my bags after everything went the way it did, and my family embraced us. And breast surgeon just was wonderful.
Okay.
Took care of him as well as me because there is an impact on the people around you.
Okay.
So yeah, it was. We just got to that point and had to say, look, we say we're believers.
Okay.
We say we're Christians.
You had said that you guys were newlyweds, and then you got dealt this blow.
Yes, right.
And it seemed like what you were saying is you both had to deal with it individually.
Yes.
And it may not have been the correct way at first, but you dealt with it.
Yeah, we did.
And you were able to overcome that. And so then you moved with family to Atlanta for your recovery, or to actually start the process of trying to figure out what are your options,
treatments, yes,
treatments and things like that. So would you say that they caught yours early?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what saved my life. Is it was the kind of breast cancer that they saw. It had not completely spread it in the ducts. It was like right there at the early stages.
Okay.
But if it had been left where they went in and did a lumpectomy, that was my first surgery, they thought they could go in and remove that area. And when I went back for 2 weeks, she just told me, if I leave you like that, you'll be back.
Okay.
I was like, no, let's take care of this and go forward. And that's what we did.
So you did, okay, they caught it early where it didn't attack, or you saying it didn't?
Ducts, yeah.
Ducts.
The ducts, the glands that's in your breast.
Okay, so okay, excuse me, because I don't really know all the details about what's inside the breast.
Okay.
Of course you know.
Okay.
But anyway, so you're saying that there's a stage where it goes to, it could attach itself to some type of ducts, and when it does that, that's harder for them to actually kind of go in and try to remove.
Right.
There comes some difficulties. It at times it could be fatal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be the kind that spread something like triple negative breast cancer or something like that. But it wasn't that.
Okay.
It was at a stage early enough, and it was not an aggressive cancer. It was right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I thank God for the thing that you found underneath your arm that prompted you to go to the doctor. See, God is just so
totally
good
awesome.
Because we're going for one thing and then we discover another thing, and even though that other thing may be something that was horrific at the time, it ended up being a blessing because you were able to catch it and saved your life.
Yes.
And I thank God for that. When you say I've always heard of different stages of cancer, and again, when you hear somebody has cancer, I don't ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
You know, what does stage 1 mean? How does the stages work? Is 1 the worst, or is 1 the early?
1 is the earliest.
1 is the earliest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you hear somebody say they have triple negative breast cancer, that's a very aggressive, usually within a year that person expires.
Okay.
Because it is so aggressive, it spreads through your body, and it usually metastasizes, meaning it moves to other parts
of your body,
all over, and it starts out at breast cancer, and then it turns into, it could be lung cancer, but it's rapid. Okay. That's pretty prevalent in African Americans. So
I would say that it's very important. And Kelly Shaw, I'm talking to you today too.
Right.
I've had a mammogram 2 years ago, and actually I was due for one because I was coming up on the time of the year where the doctors feel like you're ready for one. And I remember I had been to Atlanta with my cousins and a girlfriend of mine, and this is when I was a Starbucks junkie.
Okay.
And we were drinking Starbucks like 3 times a day. And when I got back, I was in bed one day, And you know how you get comfortable, and sometimes my comfort, I'll just be like this, or I
Right.
might put my hand under my arm.
Right.
And I was watching TV, and I felt something. I was like, what the heck? And I had got the prescription for the mammogram, but I was slowing up, like,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. So immediately, oh my God, I got cancer, I'm dying.
Right.
And I had told my husband about it, and he was like, Kelly, you need to go get that checked. After I felt that, oh yeah, I was on the phone trying to get it. Yeah. And come to find out, by the time my appointment came, that had went away, and what we believed it was caffeine. Because when I Google everything.
Yeah.
I went on the internet just trying to understand some things, and then they shared some of that with, it could be caffeine and calcium deposits and things like that. So just hearing your story, I'm going to make that appointment and go back and get another one checked.
Please
because
do.
just because you feel like it was okay the first time, we should be going. Is it annually or how often?
You should go annually.
Annually.
And a lot of people, what hurts us as women is we figure no news is good news. Mm-hmm. And that's the myth that's killing us in large numbers with breast cancer. Okay. It's being diagnosed by leaps and bounds. But something as simple as a breast exam, you know, women don't want to do that, but it makes a difference because you know your breasts.
Okay.
So just even in the shower, raise that arm up and just do the circle of motion. And that can make a difference.
If we have time before the end of the show, would you show us how to actually do that exam?
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I can do that. Very simple.
And you know, another myth, I'm just going to speak for Kelly, is I figured because I'm not heavy breasted, you know, I barely got something, could I really get breast cancer? So it's not big titty, little titty, no titty, no.
It's not, because men can get breast cancer.
Really?
Yes. And it's the tissue that gets the cancer. It's not the
breast
size.
tissue, so it's not your actual.
Right. Right, the skin don't get the cancer. The tissue gets the cancer. And it gets down in the ducts and, you know, those pores. So men, I mean,
I've never heard that before.
Is that right?
Is it rare?
It's rare, but it happens. And people need to understand that men can get cancer in their breasts. Okay. And we don't talk about that.
And another thing is, I thought that if you do get it in your breast, the worst case scenario is get it removed, until I have experienced other people that I have come in contact with where they have died. I'm thinking, okay, breast cancer, usually people get their breast cut off, and I'm thinking, oh, that's just horrific by itself, just to be breastless. Yeah. But that can happen, and you
can still.
And you still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
but there are so many journeys of treatment. What works for Philippa may not work for someone else. I truly believe that the spiritual connection that I have helps me go through what I'm going through.
Okay.
I believe that the mind has a great bearing on how you recover. You know, some people may have it and have it for 20 years, and then they're free, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, it'll show up. So I believe in the holistic metaphysical realm of life, that something else is going on in me that's having this cancer to grow. Why I say that, and that's just my belief, Kelly. Okay. Everybody has cancer cells. We all do. So what is it that didn't activate yours that activated mine? What's going on, you know? And so when we understand that, we don't get as, I guess, cocky, for less of a better word, to say, oh, well, I'm never going to get it. I was at my best weight. I felt like my spiritual connection was on point. My marriage was, I thought that my life was great. And then, boom, like that. So when people try to tell me, well, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't do that, you should go there. I was running. I've run a marathon. I've done all of those things that was the right thing.
And still.
And it showed up. So I just believe it's divine. I can honestly say, I'm glad that I was chosen. It has taught me a lot. It strengthened my marriage. Because we had to have conversations that we wouldn't have had. We would not have talked about the things of life. and the things that he was dealing with and how he was handling it, how I was handling it, and how our family was going to, all of that stuff.
So going through cancer, it has a strain on relationships, correct?
Big
on your
time.
marriage.
Big
And
time.
I just want to address this real quick because a lot of times people think, oh, you know, marriage is this, and as long as, you know, we have good sex and everything will be okay as long as, you know, we're in good health and things like that. And you're saying that you can wake up one day and be dealt a hand that you can't deal with, or maybe even your spouse can't deal with. So basically, I'm saying, if your marriage isn't built on the foundation of Jesus Christ,
Absolutely.
anything can take your marriage up out of it.
It can.
You know, you woke up one day going in for one thing, and you came out with a different diagnosis. And with the strain of that, could have took your marriage completely up out of here.
And it has done that to people. It does it quite a bit. But I'm thankful because in our beliefs, we know that there's a greater power than us. And when we ask for understanding, what is it that you want us to come out of with this thing called cancer? Not being a victim to it. Because that's what a lot of people do. Go and become a victim in its woe. And, you know, most people don't know that I'm a survivor unless I tell them. Because they expect my breasts to look a certain way and all that kind of stuff. But no.
But there's options that you, if you have to have one removed, or there's different options that you can, roads that you can take with that. You can get it removed completely. And then, like I was sharing with you before the camera started rolling, I had shared that I knew someone that used to wear a stuffing thing in their bra.
Right.
And then I've heard of a person that actually has, you know how when you go get boob jobs, you can get that done too.
The implants, yes.
There's all kinds of things out there for you to do. And I think as a woman, and again, I know I'm not top heavy, but I wonder what kind of thing would I have went through mentally had I went through cancer and then had to have the breast removed, and then would I want my husband to see me that way? What would you say to that person? Because like you said everybody goes through it different and have different types of ways that they handle breasts, if they have to lose a breast or reconstruct a breast. What would you say to that woman that may be going through breast cancer, that is dealing with, maybe she's gone through the surgery and she's in recovery, but still dealing with the part about the way that the breast looks now, and maybe how she will feel about herself with her spouse and things like that?
Well, the first thing is you have to acknowledge that I'm dealing with this thing called breast cancer. Then you have to acknowledge that I am scared. If you can't be with that, if you try to deny your human fleshy self to be with the fact that this is in my body, then your road becomes more difficult. You know, a lot of people hide. A lot of people don't tell anybody, go through it by themselves. I myself, I couldn't imagine not having my family there. It taught me the lesson to really give up control. But I always tell women, and I do talk to a lot of women, and that's what this has taken me to, be with it. It's okay, because society promotes us as those symbols of being sexy, and a part of that is having breasts. So now you're at, like, I don't even have the breasts, so now I'm less than a woman. Okay? We're going to go through that.
We can go through that. Okay, I ain't had breast cancer. At least I don't know that I've had it. I'm small-breasted, and I've seen people with titties. Nice sized titties and cleavage, and I'm kind of like, and I find myself sometimes comparing myself. So is it really that, do we ever not compare ourselves with someone else?
No, we don't. But
and
it worsens when there's a disorder.
Okay.
That's what happens when there's a disorder there. Yes, again, it's the society's mental drain on us that it defines who we are in certain ways. Okay? But we have to be strong in our beliefs about, that's the knowing who you are and the knowing of whose you are. I'm not my breast. And that's what he gave me. I'm not my breast. I'm not my breast again. I'm a newlywed. Okay.
Wasn't it in the Irie that says I'm not my hair? So
Absolutely.
even as African American women, we had to get over that part too, because I'm starting to see a lot of women going natural with their hair. So if we can go natural with our hair and we're not our hair, we're not our breasts.
We're not. We're not any part of us. We're the sum total of who God created us to be. So if you can embrace it as a whole, okay, the parts are nothing by themselves.
Okay.
They're just that thing. And I'm not my breast. But again, I'm newlywed. I have to be cognizant of that because my husband happened to be a man. Okay? And so let's be real about it. I don't want to scare him when I take off my clothes. So we have to talk about that. And his
Do you
thing,
talk about it before you actually had the
surgery?
The surgery.
Absolutely. He was right there, a part of all of that. We had, like I said, a great breast surgeon. And because my thing was, okay, try to do the lumpectomy so it won't make me look different. But when it came back that didn't work, take it off. And so we have to make that decision and be okay with it. I'm not saying it was easy. No, I'm not going to tell you that. It was not easy. All that stuff went through my head. He's going to leave. He could possibly leave. I know he's a breast man. I went through all of that. But it's the test of time is, how are you going to be about, again, who God is in your life and know that this is not a curse or a punishment. You have to embrace those things. And your marriage has to be strong. It really has to have a foundation that you are 100% committed to your vows. Okay? Because everything is not going to always be hunky-dory.
You're right.
Not at all. So when women think that, I need to have this in order to function in my marriage, or when a man says that you're incomplete as a woman because now you don't have breasts, then that speaks to that person.
And I wonder, is it really the men saying that, or is it so much of us in what we think that the man is saying? Sometimes I know it's my husband, he always gets on me, he's like, okay, you know what I'm thinking?
Right.
And I wonder, do we torture ourselves because we think what we think they're thinking?
Yeah.
And then mentally and psychologically, we have these thoughts, and we're jacking our own selves up, and he may not even be thinking that way. So.
And it's a combination of both. You got to understand that society still imposes on us all these views of what a woman is and what a woman is not. Okay. We get to choose from the plethora of choices what we're going to take in. So if breasts become my God, so to speak, then when that is gone, I am that, I'm incomplete.
I like that. So when we're dependent on our boobs, our butt, your butt
our hair, our eyes, our lips,
and when it's removed, who are you then?
That's right. And we don't know who we are without that. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that we have allowed society to dictate and to determine who we are. Now, our men are thinking something because they have a certain set of rules and regulations about who a woman is. It could be totally different from what we're thinking, but we're thinking about the same thing, but we're thinking about it from a male's perspective and from a female's perspective. I wanted to know how my husband would feel. I have a bump over here, but it's not my breast. But unless you know that it's not, you can't just walk up to me, oh, you had, reduction. No. But my husband, was good about it. Yes, you do what you need to do for you to be alive. And that's what we did. But I'm not going to even tell you now. Every morning I get undressed, I'm reminded. And then, there are some thoughts that goes through my mind. So I'm not going to say that, oh, it goes away. No, it doesn't. And people don't understand that. They assume that I'm vibrant, and she's having a birthday, she's doing this and she's doing this, all that kind of stuff. That there's no psychological impact that being told that you have breast cancer.
And we're talking after the recovery. After you're surviving it, you no longer have the cancer.
Right.
You're still talking about there is still some psychological things that you go through.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely. Because now, again, you see it as this area has been, altered. So that altered, now when I see that area, there's a different story. And so in your maturity, then you learn how to have the story be parallel to who you are and whose you are.
Okay.
I'm not my breast. And my thing is, if you can't handle me the way I am, then you're not worthy to be in my space. You know, I do know lots of people who've dealt with that. I can't imagine it, but I know how afraid I was. I know how afraid my husband was. And as I was saying earlier, he's a fireman. So in my mind as a woman, first of all, we look for security in our men, and they can fix it, and I just go to him. Well, he could not fix this. He could not fix this. So my initial reaction was, you need to get out of my face.
Because you can't help.
Because you ain't what, you know? And then you standing here looking at me crazy because you don't know what to do. And I'm saying, you save people's lives. I mean, I actually went through that. You save people's lives and you pull them out of burning buildings, and now you can't fix this for me. That was excruciating. Yes. So then to say that to him tells him you're less than a man. But that's what we went through. It was ugly. It was not good. I wanted to leave without him. I wanted to go to Atlanta. You just stay here. You can't do that. Just stay right here. I'll be back. You know, I had an attitude, and then I got some coaching. And
coaching from other survivors?
Well, from someone who just like life coaching. Okay. One of my habits is when I don't want to confront something is I run. Okay. Whether it's physically in my head or physically. And so that's what I want to do in this situation. He can't fix it. I don't know why I need him. You know, that's how it was. But then, you know, my coach said, try something different. That is your husband. And you love him. And yeah, I do, Donna. Why would I leave him here out of this? Because it was as painful for him to see the scar and my sister changing the bandage, and I went through some allergic reactions, and my skin was coming off when she was taking it. So he was there, and he would get this weird little way of being, but that was his fear. So we learned how to, when she came over to change my bandage, we sent him to the store.
That's right.
And he was great. And then, you know, go and buy this and prepare dinner. That's what he did every day, is cook dinner. But we had to learn how to do that, because he'd be standing there like this, and I mean, it was funny.
And everybody can't handle different stages of it. Like you said, your sister was good with the bandage. He was good at cooking dinner.
Absolutely.
And you just have to put people in their roles. If you have, so is it safe to say that if you're going through, and it may not even just be breast cancer, any type of difficulty or challenge, put people in the right roles.
Absolutely.
Especially with, I want to go here with aging parents. You know how sometimes you're trying to figure out, well, you might have a sister or a brother that is working. You may have another sister that may not be working. That sister that's not working may be more hands-on, but the sister or brother that's working can be financial. You know, there's all kinds of ways that everybody can chip in and help and be good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think...
you have to eat.
Right. So, so my husband did that. I ended up moving in with my niece, who was the daughter of my sister who died from breast cancer. So now that's a whole different thing. Okay? I'm Aunt Phil, and I was very close to my sister, and I was like a big sister to this niece. And we ended up having there was still some unresolved stuff between us that we didn't even know was there. I didn't. And it really had a toll on our relationship because of what she was dealing with. Here it is, she's lost her mother, and then here it is, my auntie, and I'm having to care for her. But she took very good care of me. She would wake me up in the morning, speaking of the pain, and make sure I had my medicine. And she'd come and stand on my bed, and I'm not even all the way awake, give me my pill and give me the water. And that was her role. Because she was a morning person. Because I would have been sleeping through it and then would wake up in pain. But that's what she provided. She was a single woman, and now you got auntie in your house, and she's not the auntie that you know now because she's dealing with this thing called breast cancer.
And we can even go a step further, because could you imagine, and I'm not saying that this is what she went through, but I just think about myself and maybe other people. Could you imagine her mom didn't survive?
Yeah.
Here you are, her aunt.
In her house.
And you survived.
Yeah.
I wonder would the question be, why did she get to survive?
Absolutely.
And my mom didn't get to survive.
I'm sure it was there.
Would those be some thoughts?
I think I would too. I would ask that. I would. I didn't go through half of what my sister. Like I said, God had a different plan for me. I didn't have to have chemo. Right. I chose to get the breast totally removed. Okay, my sister had chemo, so I didn't go through losing my hair. You know, it thinned from the medicines and all of the anesthesia that I had to go through in a short period of time for the 2 surgeries. But I don't know that journey. I don't know the chemotherapy journey. So to try to talk to someone about what they should or should not do who's on that journey would be doing them a disservice. Yeah. So the thing that women have to remember about this is, if you're ever faced with it, know that you determine your journey. And if you are someone who understands the Most High, you become co-creator. And you find somebody, this was very important, you find somebody else who's going to be touching you that has that kind of belief. Because I believe that spiritual energy transforms and transfers. So you can't operate on me if you're not speaking words of spiritual awareness.
So you're basically saying that you need someone to go through this journey that is just as strong as a believer as you, and the power of Jesus Christ's healing powers.
Absolutely.
In order to where you're weak. When you're saying touching, you mean bearing your burdens with you, meaning walking you through the process. Absolutely. Where you're weak, they're strong.
Absolutely.
And you're totally right, because we have to depend. We have to depend on Jesus Christ. Absolutely. And the power of His blood that was shed on Calvary.
That's right.
And we have to believe that in and through Him, there's healing that takes place.
Absolutely.
And you said, like you said, on those days that you had those bad days, you said you had bad days, you need somebody else to coach you, to encourage you, and to share scripture with you and remind you of God's promises and things like that. But also, Philippa, I want to go here because your story is victorious.
Yes.
And you caught yours early and things like that, but you did go through a sister that, it was fatal.
Absolutely.
What would you say to the viewers if they're dealing with a family member that could possibly end in death?
Yes.
I mean, that's being real.
Yeah.
I mean, every story is not what we call a victorious one, where they actually can say, well, I'm a survivor. There's plenty of people that their lot was death.
Absolutely. I think the best thing, and I think this is true in everything, is to be honest with your family, with friends. I just became the open book. Embarrassment, I went through that, but I had to continue to remember that it's a greater plan. It's a greater plan that God has for me. So I think with your children, with your spouses, just like I offered to you, do you want to see it? Because it brings it into perspective when people see it. Because you're looking at me, you can't say, oh, she's a survivor. No, I show you the journey, and in spite of it, I am victorious. So be honest, because you don't know what they're dealing with, and you hiding only scares them more. And I did a great thing, and my breast surgeon said, be an advocate for breast cancer. That's what she told me. She said, I'm going to take care of the rest. And I know she was a God-fearing woman. So I could feel it. We were one. I could just feel that. And you know who is, and you know, you can feel it when, like, I'm just really funny about that. Even when I was diagnosed and people were saying they're going to pray for me, I don't want everybody praying for me.
Can't have that.
Because if you don't believe that there's a greater presence and there's a greater power, you're going to do a begging prayer. My prayer is, give Philippa and her family the strength to endure this journey that you have them on. And it's a difference. I don't want to say, oh, Lord Jesus, make her well and burn it. No, I wouldn't let anybody do that. You can't, no, you cannot be around in my space if you think God is a begging God and you got to make some kind of deal with him. I wrote the prayer and I sent it out on internet. And I told people, you know, this is what you can do. This is what I know will lift me up, lift my husband up, my sons, that will make it easier. You need prayer warriors. And that's what they become. But don't beg. No, we didn't do that. It sounds like,
roughly in a nutshell, your prayer was, thy will be done.
Yes.
And a lot of people, Philippa, cannot handle that.
I know.
There's been times where I have been asked to pray for a certain situation and I'm not led that way.
Right.
And I know sometimes that can be frowned upon because you're sitting there and the person wants you to pray for, I want healing to take place. And there's been times where I know that healing is not what God's will is. And to share that with a family member is very hard. I mean, it's almost like I just don't even want them to ask me. But my prayer, and I had to learn this in my own life too, is you have to get to a place to where you say, your will be done.
Yeah.
Your
and
will
everybody
be done.
have different language. So me as a believer and you as a believer, okay, what we think is healing is that it looks a certain way at the end. So if you're a believer, when you pray with me, those words should, in the world of should, be your first word. Lord, let your will be done in Philippa's life. You know, place a hedge of protection around she and her family, and show them who you are. Because, Lord, right now they are weary in this journey called whatever it is they're going through. So it's charged to us when people come to us.
Yeah, we have to be careful because a lot of people, I want to rebuke this and I want to rebuke that, and
Right.
I want to, and it's not even about rebuking and all that. It's basically, it's just, I will.
But you as a Christian, and when we say that, we have to be responsible. Because if they knew better, they would do better. They are just going from what they've learned about who this entity or what they call it. You're at a different level. So I don't water down my prayers. When they ask me to pray, if I'm in Bible study and we pray at the end, any concerns that any of the women bring, Lord, show them you. And I can't do a begging prayer. And if you get me out of this, then I promise. No, Lord, be with them every step of the way, and remind them of who you are.
Right.
And Lord, remind them whose they are. You know, that's how I learned how to pray. I can't do that begging stuff. And probably from this surgery, all of that, because my body is not the same. It is not the same. You know, I wanted, my hips and, but this surgery I have big scars everywhere.
Okay.
But do I consider myself as not being a woman, a voluptuous woman, a phenomenal woman? I'm still that.
Are you still?
Yeah.
How is
very, very. Well, it altered because some of the surgery took away my own desire. I was the one in the relationship like, okay, whoo, 5 times a day and sometime in between, right? Okay, but now it's like, we understand, and then of course my husband is mature, so as you age, things change. That's not on the high priority of our list. And we know we don't oh, well, if you're not doing this, then you must don't love me. And
Mm-hmm.
no, I mean, we're good at just holding each other, like those things that you really don't normally do. You just want to go straight to, and let's do this thing, and then it's done. There's no substance with that.
Mm-hmm.
We learned about substance and quality.
Right. Okay.
He turns me on just by good morning.
Oh, okay.
Have a good day, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Or when he's leaving, kiss me before he leaves. Like, that's important
so
to
you're
me.
Set instead of just getting boom, boom, boom.
That's it. Yeah,
you're learning intimacy. You're learning true intimacy.
And with that is the agape love.
Okay.
Okay? So we have to learn how to do that because, at this point, and he knows my tolerance for sex is not where it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's no, but does that mean, oh, he needs to go out and find him someone else?
Mm-hmm.
No, and that was a fear when all of the hormonal medicine and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
it was interesting. So.
Okay. Well, Philippa, I would like to take this time and if you could address the viewers, share with that person who is actually going through this process. Can you just share some words of encouragement for that person or that family that may be dealing with the early stages of breast cancer or the aggressive part of breast cancer and things like that? Because you said you went through the early part, but you did go to a sister that was, she have the aggressive issue of it?
Well,
and that's the wonderful thing about Conversations with Kelly. We keep it real.
Okay.
And life still goes on in the Singleton Jackson house on a Saturday afternoon.
Right. So what I would tell them is embrace. Like, you're not crazy. I thought I was crazy at first because I was having the feelings that I was having, right? But be honest with yourself. Allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to be mad. Allow yourself to go through all of the stuff that you go through.
Okay.
Let your humanness be there. Let it. Don't try to deny yourself.
Okay.
And that's the first thing. Share with people what you're going through, because sometimes when we have this image of she's always a strong woman, then if that's all I am in a crisis like this, then no one can reach me. Okay? So share with your family, share with your friends, male and female alike. Don't hold this or try to take this journey by yourself. I don't think it's made for you to be by yourself. It taught me to ask for help all the time and acknowledge that I'm scared. And if I believe that when you take that on, then the journey is different. So you're not out there by yourself. Not that somebody need to feel sorry for you, because I don't want that, but you may need somebody to just let you have a pity party one day and cry for 15, 20 minutes, but cry with an intention. And know that it's not a punishment. It's not a curse. It's not anything to be embarrassed about. So I would say for them to do that.
And also, the main thing is get your checkups.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And show us how to do this self-exam ourselves.
Yeah, it's just simply raising your hand. You're in the shower already, and okay, you're getting ready to wash. So you can start right at the nipple area. And it's just a motion, a circle of motion is what you're going through.
And we're feeling for
any difference that you have to know your breast. If you don't know your breast tissue, even if you feel something that you think might be it, and you just go all the way around, you need to go and don't be upset or thinking, oh, I'm just wimping out. No, you're not. That little lump that you could have felt could save your life. Oh, wow, in the shower, okay, I noticed a difference in my breast tissue, and that can make it,
Right. And for yourself, you didn't feel an actual lump.
I did not.
So it's still important to, even if you don't feel anything, still go.
I think so.
And what's the age again? Because I was 40, it's been 2 years ago. I was 42 42 when I had my first one. Is it 40? It used to be 50.
I think 40. No, I think I just say you have
40.
breasts, okay, and with so much stuff in the air, in the consciousness of people, I will start early. 40. We've had young
But
kids.
you know what? There's been people that have been under 40 because I remember
Absolutely.
a schoolmate of mine died of it, and she was not 40.
Oh.
So I wonder, should we go earlier? Should we start?
I think so because, again, it's not about the age. Everybody has cancer cells in their body.
Okay.
Yours may be activated by when you're 30s. Different things. So I don't always lock into the number. I say just do general care. Take care of your body, especially as a woman. We have so many parts and so many different things that happen. We need to care. And we're usually the last people that is taken care of.
Meaning African American or
Women.
Women in general.
Women in general, but mostly African Americans. Our heritage teaches us to take care of everybody. That's what we've done all of our lives, and we will leave us out in the name of being a good black woman.
Okay.
You know, so no, you don't have to be the hero in that. No one's looking for that. Take care of yourself. You know,
what about if a person, somebody might be watching and be like, okay, that was good, she had family, she had a husband. What about that person that may be single or going through it by themselves? Does it have to be blood? Can you reach out to friends or?
I would say so, because I believe that if I wasn't married, that's why I always keep a circle of friends. I think as women, sometimes when we get married, we delete all of our friends. But I know that there was probably some conversations I had with my girlfriends during that time that I didn't have with my husband. But I just needed to be able to say it. The thing is to get it out and to voice it and to be okay with it. No embarrassment. That's why I told you I'll show it to them. Okay, touch it. You know, I think that makes it real for people. It was like, if she could survive it, then so can I.
Right.
You know, and so it may be giving them a whole different view on life. Because we don't want to go and get our mammograms. For whatever reason that is, we don't want to go.
Do you have any information you can share with the viewers about support groups and places that you feel are excellent? If you've been diagnosed with breast cancer, some places that you feel like have excellent care?
Well, one of the things that made a difference for me is I'm a member of the African American Cancer Support Group that we meet every second and fourth Tuesday over at the King Center. And because I didn't have the language, I needed to be around people who had the language. I had to be okay that I was feeling a certain way. And today I was feeling this way, but, you know, yesterday I wasn't feeling so good. So does that mean I'm a wimp because I'm going through that? And these women were survivors, like I said, for 20 years. They were my inspiration. Because they were still going to work, they were still caring for their children and doing what they needed to do. So that gave me a place. So I believe that made a huge difference for me